my name is Ella Jean, your local fantasy author, and it's important to note, for the sake of this video, I am done editing for those who seek magic. Woo! Blessed be the day. You might ask, as a lot of writers know, are you ever really done editing? Technically, yes. I'm gonna send it out to query, so I've decided that I'm done. That's kind of all you can do. Editing is like polishing stones. You use a finer and finer and finer grit until you think it's enough to sell. There's no grand jury that declares it done, or one thing that is like a final, this is the last thing you do and then you know it's perfect. You'll never know it's perfect. It's overwhelming. My editing process has always been complicated. I know everyone has different opinions on this, but writing has always been my favorite part of the process. Sounds obvious. I'm a writer, but you would be surprised after you write that first draft. The rest of it's editing of some sort, and you can have an upwards of like 3 drafts if you're really good at it, or 20 drafts if you're me. Like the final, please God, this time final document draft. You've stopped counting, you're just going. I've always extended the writing bit by rewriting the first draft entirely and only keeping the stuff I like for my second draft. I find that it's very succinct when you do it that way, because first drafts are always questionable. So I usually just pull the stuff that I like, make a new outline, and rewrite it from scratch. You'll know the characters better, you know the story better, you know the plotline better, and it better be damn better than that first draft. So, it's always been my process. I know I'm not alone in that one. But it was really fascinating for those who seek magic. I know whenever I talk about the query process on here, I speak of it like it's war. With dramatic reenactments and flashbacks. And that's kind of because it feels like that. I'm unfortunately not joking. It's called the Querying Trenches for a reason. I have queried twice. I have sent hundreds of letters, and I've only ever gotten a single full request. That's not a lot, and it's hard when you see everyone else online who's doing better. It's incredibly frustrating as a writer. And while I'd love to say that I am confident in myself and my own writing, and that I know that agents pass for a multitude of reasons and it's not really your fault, it's hard to not feel like you fucked up somewhere. So, when I decided to rewrite For Those Who Seek Magic, I set out with a purpose. I was going to do whatever I had to make it the best story possible, to give it the best chances of being marketable and catching an eye of an agent. It was an easy write for me. I've known this story like the back of my hand. I believe I have another video on it that I got it out in like 2 months. And from there, I turned to editing. The first few rounds of polish were really easy. They were the kind of things I've done before. I would comb through the draft, rearrange scenes to make sure that it's streamlined story. I then pulled one character out at a time, going through their arc and their individual story and making sure the choices made sense, and those who needed to grow followed through on their growth. I made sure the magic we saw was built upon, so the ending was both surprising and you got where it was coming from. Which can be a hard thing to balance, but I find it easy. All you have to do is pull out one thing at a time. It's focus. Start on one layer. Theme, character, world building. Just focus on that. If you see comments or things to fix in another parts, just make a note and stay focused. Then switch over once you've finished that. Or once you finish that character, or moment, or world building scene. I would switch back and forth between each of them, because it kept things easy and bright and happy. Because I don't like monotony. I'm not good when it, like, you have to do the same thing over and over and over. But my past wars of querying weighed on me. I had done all of this before. I had been proud of my stories before. Yes, when I look back on what I tried to submit, there's a bit of embarrassment. You go, oh, I understand why this had no bites on it. You recognize your mistake, but that's just hindsight. At the time, they were the best stories I could produce. So sitting here proud of For Those Who Seek Magic, I didn't see how that was going to be any different. So I did a line edit. For some people, this may be really easy. This may be part of their everyday process. What it is, it's shrinking the comb even further and making sure every sentence is the best it can be. Not a word wasted. Nothing in passive tense unless it made sense for the scene. It's the confusing part about writing, that there is no one and set rule system. My verbs were strong. Each character had their own voice. And I got overwhelmed. I consider myself a good writer. I finally have enough confidence in myself. I am very self-critical, but I know I'm a good writer. But I can recognize shortcomings. Everyone can recognize their own shortcomings. I am not good at grammar. Yeah, seriously. I rely on, like, the red and blue squiggly lines in Word every time I need to edit those things. That is my way of doing things. That was my way of doing things in college. I am not good at the official structure of things. But Word spell check doesn't really catch the line level stuff. The sentence structure, this is passive voice. And once I went through and started catching those, it was a lot. There were a lot of probably very beginner mistakes. And I suddenly see why I never got full requests before. And all I could do was focus on these mistakes. I was drowning in rules and structure and realizing how much I traditionally do wrong. It sucked. I started questioning my skill as a writer. I didn't know if the changes I was making were actually making it better anymore. I would change words and then change them back the next read through. I didn't even know if I liked For Those Who Seek Magic anymore. That was when I knew I had to back away. I want to write as a profession, but I also want to love what I do. I hope everyone has that. I started a different book. Just something easy to throw together. And for an entire week, I didn't really dedicate any time to For Those Who Seek Magic. But you never really stopped thinking about writing, even while I wrote a different book. And when that week was up, I was ready to slap around the last dozen chapters until I was happy with them. And I was more okay that I wasn't entirely happy with them. I have to admit that I am burnt out on this book. And a week of repair isn't going to get it there. And this happens from time to time. I'll start querying it after I have a different person read through it and move on to something else. Let it do its own thing in the querying process. Not every part of the writing process has to be your favorite. Not every part has to even be fun. I know that sounds defeatist, but it's the truth. If you expect your hobby to be everything bright all the time, you're going to be disappointed and you're going to drop it when things get tough. There are ups and downs to the writing process, and for some reason, this line edit got to me. But now I go back up, as long as this querying process doesn't kill me first. Thank you for following. Please follow if you liked what you saw. I have 20 subscribers. I know that's a tiny number, but I kind of expected it to just be my friends and family, which got me to like 9. So I'm kind of shocked with all this. Leave a comment if you want to see the querying process in a full video. I can explain my methodology and how you stay sane, because almost all of it is just how you stay sane. And I have Fiverr gigs linked below if you want me to beta read or sensitivity read your shit. But most of all, please follow along, because writing is difficult. And daring to continue past that first page, especially the way the world is right now, is brave. I want to build a community with you, because anyone can write, and everyone has a story in them. I truly believe that. Thanks.